So you're planning a trip to London or thinking about it and could use some very simple tips or key info to make it as close to perfect as possible? Well, you've clicked on the right video. Right now we're covering a few important things that you'll definitely want to have packed either in your suitcase or in your brain. But this video is just a quick overview to ensure that you've got some critical basics, otherwise it could be hours long, and we've narrowed it down to just 7 just to get you started. We've done this stuff and can say that being very well prepared made all the difference on our trip here. So I want to share our experiences here to help you make your trip phenomenal as well. Hey y'all, it's Scott, the Basic American Dad Abroad, and this is part of our London 101 series playlist, which is a collection of bite-sized videos on the subjects that you need to know to have a good foundation for a fantastic time in London. Getting to London, there are so many options and variables on getting there from your home, so we can't possibly cover all of those, except we did cover a Eurostar arrival in a separate video. Plus, we're giving you insight for internal London transportation, including the tube, in another video as well. And all of those are in our London 101 playlist, so be sure to check that out. But in this video, I'll be walking you through some of the other things that you really need to know the most. So let's get right into it. Number 1, money. Not as in how much will your trip cost you, those are also variables that can swing very wildly. Rather, I want you to know that credit cards are accepted in most scenarios, but perhaps not all. And it's a bit easier to tip in cash. Credit card procedures are a bit different at restaurants there, though you can often ask to add that tip to your bill. But you'll want to have some cash, meaning pounds, on hand regardless. And if you're ready with that in advance, you can save yourself some time and trouble, plus probably an unfavorable exchange rate at a UK ATM. So a few weeks before your trip, just go to your home bank and they can usually get you pounds at a fair rate. How much? Well, that really depends on your spending habits, but just to give you some ideas, for my daughter and I in April 2023, we brought 100 pounds for 4 days in the city, and we went home with plenty leftovers. And be sure to have a credit card, better yet 2 as a spare, that does not charge foreign transaction fees. Number 2, cell phones, and this will depend also on your personal situation. You should check with your carrier to see what they offer for international packages. And the number of days you'll be there will be a factor too. But here's what my daughter did on another 2-week London trip in July of 2023, and it worked great. We have iPhones, and she left hers on airplane mode the entire time, but had Wi-Fi calling enabled. This allowed her to occasionally make calls back home when she had Wi-Fi, in addition to iMessages. But she also took an old iPhone that I had and got a UK temporary SIM card for it. The carrier is called EE, and she got their card at Heathrow. And they can be found in many stores around the city as well. But for her whole trip, she had not only a UK working phone, and she used that to communicate with her UK friends, plus any potential emergencies, but she also had plenty data that she could hotspot to her regular phone if she wasn't getting Wi-Fi where she was at the moment. I was back home and we could call and text each other as usual. And it only cost about 20 quid and lasted for 2 whole weeks. Number 3, speaking of cell phones, as you're probably aware, the UK has a 220 volt system compared to the 110 volts that we have here in the US and perhaps elsewhere. But no worries, because I've got you covered with a very inexpensive solution in the description links below. This is not a power converter, but the good news is that your cell phone automatically converts. You just need the plug. If you have a laptop, it likely converts as well. Ours does, but double check yours. And if such personal electronic devices are all that you're carrying, then this is probably all you're going to need. So again, check that link in the description below. Before we get into our 4 other points, which includes clothing and much more, I want to turn it over to my daughter Christina for a minute, because in this London 101 series, she'll be giving you some uniquely British words and meanings. And this one is a key difference that could save you some embarrassment.
Thanks, Dad, and hello everyone. In each of our London videos, I would like to teach you some local words or phrases that you may hear or use during your stay in England. This time, on the subject of clothing, you should really know their difference between pants and trousers. Here in the US, we generally don't use the word trousers. What we refer to as pants in the US and perhaps elsewhere, that is the outer garment, in the UK they call trousers. Pants in the UK refer to what we call underwear. So you can imagine the look on my UK friends' faces when I was talking about what I thought were my pants. Because if you understand, and even speak if you like, a few of the local words such as this, and words or phrases that I teach you in our other videos, the effort along with a smile will really be appreciated over there. I hope this helps you have a wonderful trip. Cheerio, and back to you, Dad.
Many thanks, Christina. So number 4, clothes. Unless you're going in the middle of winter, you need to be prepared with transitions. I realize that you're trying to keep your luggage to a minimum, and you could always buy clothes there. But it could be cold in the morning, warm in the afternoon, and raining anytime. And one day could be quite different than the last. So without too much stress, just ballpark the forecast before you leave home and be prepared with some slight variations of that. Oh, and comfortable worn-in shoes is an absolute must. You'll be doing a lot of walking and stair-stepping. Could be on cobblestones or uneven pavement. And as I learned in the Army as a young man, if your feet ain't happy, then the rest of you ain't gonna be happy either. Number 5, shopping. Now, you may be disappointed or you may be relieved, but I don't recall seeing a Walmart in London. But there are plenty retail merchants with anything you could possibly need. So you can easily get toiletries there to avoid the whole TSA liquid thing. And don't forget to save some room for souvenirs. Number 6, accommodations. I realize if you don't already have this covered, then you really need some good intel on this subject. There are so many different options and so many variables based on your needs. Plus, it's a subject that's far too deep for this basic video. So for this, I'm going to refer you to a truly helpful expert, someone who has taught us a lot about London ahead of our trips, and she's made a very excellent video on this subject, plus many other London topics. So I'll include in the description below a link for Jess and her channel Love in London. Her video is titled Where to Stay in London. She's awesome, and this video really is the best area guide. And be sure to check out her other videos as well. I'll just add that personally, we stayed at the Claremont Victoria. It was truly splendid, and we really loved the location. And the bookends of my daughter's later solo trip were spent at the Sofitel Heathrow, directly attached to Terminal 5. So she could simply walk from and to her flights on travel days, and that was absolutely perfect in every way. And finally, number 7, a subject that I'd rather not have to cover, and that's crime. Being a retired policeman and having worked the big tourist city of New Orleans for a couple of decades, and giving crime prevention guidance to countless tourists during my service, I always take some simple preventative measures in advance of a trip like this, plus avoid putting ourselves in areas or situations of risk wherever we go. So I wanted to talk with you about this for just a minute. Statistically and practically, London is safer than most tourist cities in America for a variety of reasons, especially when it comes to violent crime versus property crime. Look, criminals are cowards, and they really don't want to be caught. And like electricity, they're going to take the path of least resistance. So generally, the most important thing that you can do is make yourself a hard target. As in any tourist city, you're best staying where the crowds are. And in London, that can be most anywhere. But of course, thick crowds anywhere will draw pickpockets. In a link below, you'll find a money belt that I use there and a lot of other places. Because quite simply, if your pockets are empty, then their hands will be as well. Also below, I've got a link for a one-strap bag with multiple compartments, which makes it easy to swing around to your front for protection on the tube or other crowded spots. I know you get it, so I won't belabor this point. Just keep your wits and always be aware of your surroundings. But one extra point, dovetailing on the subject of safety, always remember that they drive on the other side of the road. So be sure to look right, but in some cases you also need to look left. You know what? You're best off just looking like an owl, spin your head around in all directions. All right, that's the basics for now. But for much more, be sure to check out our London 101 series by clicking the playlist that'll be popping up in just a few seconds. Now, you may have noticed that we did not cover itineraries in this video. That's because they'll be covered extensively in other videos of this playlist. I really hope that this helps you and your family have a wonderful time in London as we have, and that you go back home with no regrets or missed opportunities, but rather with the most incredible experiences and memories, because you researched and planned it very well. And thank you for letting me help you with that. I would love to hear what you have planned for your upcoming trip, or perhaps what you've learned from previous trips. Or do you have any important tips that I didn't cover, or anything to add to my brief overviews here? Please help us and others by telling us all in a comment below. And if you got something out of this, please hit the like button. It lets me know that you did and helps others find it as well. Now, this video is purposely not exhaustive, and many other subjects are covered in our other videos of this playlist. So I didn't want to bore you with repetition, but be sure to check out those other videos going into more detail to help you prep. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again in London real soon.